All right, Jason King here with the Sic Em 365 podcast, along with my host, Ashley Hodge, my co-host, Ashley Hodge. And we are excited today to be joined by longtime Baylor assistant, one of the top assistant coaches in the entire country, Jerome Tang. Nice enough to join us here Thanksgiving week. And Jerome, everyone's real excited about the season, and this is going to be a positive, upbeat podcast. So let's get the one negative thing out of the way first. A little bit of disappointment this week. You know, the Bears excited to go up to Connecticut and play Arizona State, possibly Villanova. Gets canceled at the last minute because of COVID reasons. When that happened, can you just describe how you guys broke it to the team and just what the reaction was?
Well, you guys actually broke it to the team. You know, like we can't keep anything from them because of Twitter. And so, right. You know, it's amazing. Sometimes we think there's a mole in our office or some bugs or whatever, but the guys, they knew it before we told them. And because someone is trying to break it. So that makes it difficult. So they all like experience it differently rather than collectively. But we got some resilient guys, and they obviously was disappointed. Some of them might have been a little more disappointed they wasn't going to get that per diem from the trip. And but no, they were really looking forward to playing somebody else, man. Just you know, seeing somebody in different color uniforms and getting after somebody else, and so but they took it in stride. I mean, we've had 2 really good practices since, and just looking forward to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. How ready do you think the team was just from what you were seeing in practice? Are you guys pleased with how things are blending together and how the team's gelling at this point?
I would say compared to last year, at this point, we are further along offensively than we are defensively. Mm-hmm. And so I leave practice upset every day, and Coach Drew has a smile on his face.
I love it. So, and you mentioned before we started the podcast, you're broadcasting from your bedroom because the family's putting up the Christmas tree. So you've been relegated.
Dude, it's Santa Claus Central out there right now. The tree is up. They're hanging stuff. Ornaments are everywhere. My son 7 is home from school, you know, and that was
his first semester at Baylor. Did he enjoy his experience?
I think he enjoyed his experience. I will tell you the benefit of COVID. All right. This whole situation is that there wasn't, as a parent, I wasn't as nervous because there weren't as many temptations out there.
Yeah.
For a teenager who's out on his own for the first time. And Baylor actually had some parental guidelines implemented that I didn't have to be the bad guy. Like, I mean, you know, just some of the things that were eliminated were things that as parents, you hope that when your child is confronted with those things that they make the right choice, right. But they may not always make the choice you would want them to make. Well, half of that was eliminated. So it was great, you know, as a parent. So I was a little more relaxed.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. All right. So getting back to like, where do we go from here? Mac Rhodes has said on an interview with David Smoke today that we were trying to get an MTE. And for those that don't know what that term is, it's a multi-team event that would allow us to get 9 non-conference games instead of 7 if we only find one opponent before we play Illinois. Can you shed any light as to where we stand on that? Or does it look promising, or is it all still fluid at this moment?
Well, does this thing, when are y'all going to actually put this out?
Probably sometime tomorrow, like Wednesday.
Oh, okay. So right now, Coach Drew is finalizing a deal that we're going to go to Vegas.
Oh, great.
We're going to play Utah Valley State first.
Yeah.
I think it looks like it'll be on the 27th.
Okay.
We would play Washington on the 28th.
Right.
And then we're going to leave there and go straight to Indianapolis.
Okay. So we'll get 2 games in, and the 1 game against Washington. I mean, so we're those 2 teams are set, or is it if we beat Utah Valley State, we play Washington? Is that if both teams win?
Ooh, I don't exactly. I think those teams are set. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Washington's going to play somebody else, and then us, and then those Utah Valley State will play the other team that's in the event.
would we be able to make up the Seton Hall game, or is that game just is that off the schedule now? Do you know?
I think that's off the schedule now, and we're gonna Coach is so funny. He said today, like before we leave in office, he said, "Don't worry, the dice are hot. Tomorrow, teams are gonna lose games, and they're gonna be calling us looking for games." So,
right.
I didn't know when he meant the dice were hot. It meant that we were going to Vegas, though. At the time, I thought.
Scott likes to roll the dice, I think, sometimes when he.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Well, that's good. That's great that you guys are going to get some games in before going to Indy. Either way, I mean, this is just, no matter if it's basketball, volleyball, any sport. I mean, it's such a challenging time to be a student athlete, and it seems like a mental toughness might have to come into play more than ever for people to just kind of persevere through these different challenges and setbacks that all teams are going through. What can you share about Baylor's basketball squad, your squad, that you've noticed just from a mentality standpoint through all of this?
Well, I think you saw last year that we had a really mentally tough group and a really together group. And the thing about Coach and the culture that he's established at Baylor is that, I mean, our players and our athletes come first. And so we really spent a lot of time thinking about their mental health, thinking about some of the things that, just when you have a lot of time, I mean, your brain can go in a lot of directions. And so, you just really need to know that people are there for you and focus and be able to take it one step at a time. So we've encouraged our guys, man, let's just focus on one day at a time. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about a week down the road. Don't worry, because they're always thinking about the future and the next thing they're going to do. And so we try to keep them in the moment. Let's get 1% better every day. Let's control what we can control today. Have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But if we take care of today in this moment, then we'll be prepared for whatever happens tomorrow. And so that's the approach we've had. The guys have really embraced it. We've seen our older guys really take the younger guys under their wings and, teach them how to be a college athlete, and just the kind of dedication and sacrifice that it takes to improve and grow in your craft and just how to adapt, because this is different. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day and they said like their freshman year at college was like the best year of their life. They had no worry. They felt like they was at summer camp for a year, and well, our guys, they don't get that. We're like at boot camp for a year. You're going to be at the gym. You're going to be in the weight room. You're going to go back to your apartment and you're going to stay there, and I mean, that's the kind of sacrifice you have to make. Well, our vets have really like put their arms around the other guys and said, man, we're going to be there with you. We're going through this together, and it's a together thing. And just really trust what the coaches are telling us, and we'll be all right. And so we've seen the leadership of our players, just transcend through the entire team, but that all just trickles down from Scott and his approach to how he wants to lead a team and build a program.
Has anyone specific emerged as kind of like, or maybe one or two people kind of emerged as a team leader, or is it just kind of everyone in their own way? I remember last year we would ask the players that question and we never got a definitive answer because you had so many different personalities that just kind of blended together. So anyone this year kind of stepping into that role, or?
No one particular person. And that's the thing. I think like there are so many different areas and things that you go through as a team on a journey. And I mean, in the midst of tough things or confrontational thing, Maceo Teague is unbelievable at being able to address everyone differently. Jared Butler is incredible in like tense situations and just getting everybody to calm down. Davion has been such a consistent worker. I mean, when you talk about like, what you are getting every day from this young fella. And then, when we're down, I mean, like down and out and it doesn't look like there's any hope, Mark Vidal's got some resilience and fight in him that can stir everyone. And so it's a blend of all of it together. And they really complement each other.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, and I mean, but I think like you never hear Scott talk about him leading our program. You know, he's always talking about the staff and the players. And I believe that just his approach, you know, that the guys pick that up and they become that. They don't take credit, you know, and that's our theme of, you know, being a team that operates with joy, you know, and we put Jesus first and then others second and ourselves last. And I think if you ask any of the guys something, hoping that they would say themselves, they're always going to throw the credit to somebody else. And that's just taught from Scott.
Yeah. Yeah. Along those same lines, this may be something you're aware of or may not be aware of, but I was texting LJ Cryer's dad, and he was just mentioning that Matt Meyer grabbed LJ and said, let's go get shots up, you know? So I mean, you expect that from like Davion and, you know, some of the older guys, but it's kind of cool to see that, you know, from like Matt, and like it's a each one teach one type of mentality, huh?
Yeah, it is. And then, you know, the joy of watching a guy like Matthew Meyer mature, you know, from day to day and week to week, month to month. And, you know, we're with him all the time. And then when he goes home for a few days and then his mom calls you and says, man, thank you. What y'all are doing with my son is unbelievable. I see all these things. And so it's really gratifying.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So I know the fans love these type of questions, but, you know, we know what Mark Vidal and Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell and Maceo Teague bring to the table. Are there some guys that you think are going to really surprise Baylor fans that you've seen, you know, leading up into these opening games that have just really taken big strides in, you know, this, you know, fall camp leading up to the season?
Well, I mean, I guess surprised in an aspect of they haven't seen it before, but I hope they wouldn't be surprised in the level of talent, toughness, and character that these guys are going to bring to the floor. But Adam Flagler and you know, Jonathan, they've been really, really special. I believe that Flo Thambas might be our most improved player, you know, and just the strides that he's taken. And Flo got a girlfriend, and she's been awesome for him. And so, I mean, you know, it's amazing the things that happen, you know, in a young person's life that allows them to see see the different perspective.
Right.
And, you know, and you're talking about kids, Jonathan and Flo, who, you know, every day they look at what's happening in their country. You know, Flo's parents, dad's, you know, works in the government there in the Congo, and there's unrest, and Jonathan in Cameroon, the things that are happening, and in Nigeria. And, you know, I mean, those guys, they're experiencing some different things and they're not there to do anything about it, you know? And so, and to watch how their approach every day is really, really special. And so they're just incredible young men. And Adam Flagler, man, I wouldn't let anybody date my daughter, but I'd consider him, you know, for real. He's just a high quality guy, man. And man, can he hoop, you know? Yeah. I mean, he can hoop. And so it's fun. I mean, it's really, really fun. And so it's, and watching Matthew develop physically and, you know, and grow that. So I think we are as talented as we've ever been, from top to bottom.
Right.
And but we're by far the highest character group of guys we've ever been around.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people close to the program talk highly about all those guys, but Flagler's a name that comes up in every conversation. Just in a little more detail, you know, basketball wise, what's really impressed you the most about him?
Well, he's probably our second best on the ball defender. Right. And I mean, Davion Mitchell can get by anybody, and he struggles to get by Adam Flagler. So that kind of tells you, I mean, when you talk about a kid who can get in the stance and move the way he does and keep the ball in front, play with his chest, willing to be physical and stick his nose in there and get tough rebounds. And then he can score. I mean, he can catch and shoot three. He can shoot the three off the dribble. He's got a mid-range pull-up. He's got a floater, and he can finish with both hands. I mean, he can score all 5 levels, and he can play in a pick and roll, And so, I mean, he's really good, man. He is.
I feel like he's almost even surprised you guys a little bit. Like, you knew you were getting a good player, but he's almost like taking.
Yeah, you saw him at Presbyterian, and you saw the film, and you saw a kid who could make shots, and but you didn't realize, like maybe you had a ceiling on where he was at, but he's like blown through. I mean, it's like paper ceilings. Like, he's just blowing through them. Just yeah. So it's been, he's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
And and the character and the family that he comes from, his pops was unbelievable, and mom, and just so you can like coach him. You can challenge him. You can push him, and he doesn't flinch, and so it's.
Why don't you think, did he go unnoticed out of high school? What's his background as far as, why he ended up at Presbyterian and things like that?
I think he played on a small AAU team, and even though he put up numbers, I don't think people valued the fact that he put up numbers. They paid too much attention to the competition.
Yeah.
And, I'm just tell you, there's some dudes, like, you can put them in a gym by themselves and they couldn't score 50 points.
Right.
And so to score 50 points in any kind of game, you got to be able to put the ball in the hole. You got to have some talent. I think people underestimate that. Played on his high school team, was a low level, but they were really good, won a lot of games, and people didn't value those things. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think anybody took the time to find out the kind of guy his dad was, and how he raised him and how he trained him and how, it's that's so important. It's so important, the men that are behind these young men and how they raised them, and that determines, how far you can push them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Great example.
So, is it crazy for me to say this, that Jonathan may be our most important player to keep healthy? I mean, with the loss of Tristen and, needing, a guy to really, carry the weight down low, is he the one guy that we just have to really keep healthy this year?
I mean, I could see how you might think that. I think both he and Flo together. I think they're a two-headed monster, and neither one of them are a proven product,
right?
And they haven't had to do it night in and night out, and so regardless of how hard they've worked and how talented they might be, they still have to go through the growing pains of experience and trial by fire, and so you're going to see some ups and downs, and then hopefully as we go along get into. Normally, I would say when we get to January, but now it might be even get to February based on how many games we get to play. Right. Then maybe you'll start seeing that, like, the consistent line rather than the ups and the downs from them. And so now where that line is will determine how quickly they can learn. But there's a lot of basketball both of those guys still have to learn.
Yeah.
But because they've never been in that situation before. And so it's just but can he catch a lob? Yes, he can catch a lob. Can he run the floor? Yes. Does he set great screens? Yes. Can he score with his back to the basket? Yes. He can do those things. And how consistently he'll be able to do that, knowing when he's going to get those opportunities, and can he stay out of foul trouble, and can he make the right ball screen calls, 3 times in one half court possession? Those are the things we got to see. And,
right.
and that's why we need both he and Flo to get experience in those situations.
I saw some scrimmage video, and I probably caught one of those up days because he really played well in the scrimmage. One thing I noticed is he was about 10 for 10 from free throws. Also,
he
on his free throws.
Yeah, he works, man. This dude is during. Let me give you the story. During when we weren't allowed to come to the gym, guys couldn't come to the gym, couldn't come to the weight room.
Right,
Coach, we were able to give him some equipment to work out with, right? Jonathan probably had half the weight room at his apartment. Really, he had his own weight room out on his balcony, and then he had a bike inside his apartment. And Jared Butler said he would get up in the morning. It'd be like 7 a.m. He'd look outside when he's around. There's Jonathan on the court outside doing defensive slides. You know, I mean, this is a guy who is, I mean, he's relentless, just works. And so, yeah, he's going to have those highs, and there's going to be some times when he has some lows. It's just how quickly he can bounce out of those lows.
Yeah.
You know, and that'll come with experience.
Right.
That's exciting to hear, and I can tell in your voice that Flo Thamba has shown you something that has you optimistic about, you know, the direction he's headed. I wanted to ask you, though, about Tristen Clark just real quick, because he was such a big part of your program there for a couple of years. How much do you feel for a kid, you know, when you see something happen and he has to kind of just give up the game before he's probably anticipating doing it? I mean,
man, none of us has ever been in that situation where, you know, 1 week, you know, you're thinking that the dream of your life to play in the NBA might be just a few months away. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's gone, you know, and so you just really hurt the guy. Like, closest experience was with Isaiah Austin. Mm-hmm. You know? And, but yeah, that it's been tough, because, you know, he wants to play, and like, there's sometimes I didn't want him at practice, because he would show you glimpses of his old self with his great hands and feet and scoring ability, you know, and you'd get excited as a coach, and then, you know, next day he'd be limping around, and you'd be like, man, I sure hated for this. So Tristen's just an unbelievable young man, and life threw a lot of crazy things at him. And we always tell the guys, you know, that God gives the toughest test to the strongest warriors. Mm-hmm. And so it was really cool the other day when he spoke to the team, that he was able to have a smile on his face. Mm-hmm. And you can tell he had some peace in his spirit about the direction that he was going to go in. And now, you know, as he's going in that direction, you know, there's going to be tough times. There's going to be, you know, things that get him down as he thinks about what could have been. And that's where we, the Baylor family, have to be there for him and continue to encourage him, because even if he had continued to play basketball, it was only going to last maybe another 5-10 years. And then there was still this life to go live. And he just gets to go into this life a little earlier. And he's going to need us to be there to support him as he is on that journey, that he knows that we're there, and people got his back.
Yeah, and you speak to something that's probably a big challenge every year, but this year particularly. I mean, obviously there's big expectations for this team. There's COVID. You're dealing with just the wackiness of all this, 2020 situation. Jason and I always talk about, we love the regular season of basketball, and the average fan probably just puts too much pressure on March and March Madness. But just how important is it just to embrace the joy of the journey, and just, competing against yourself, getting that 1% better every day. Like even, practices, you guys practice today, right? I think.
Yeah, we actually we opened practice today. I told the guys that whether there's a game a day from now, 2 days from now, a week from now, today is the only thing that we can control. And your ultimate goal is not to play a game, but to one day get paid to play this game. Right. And so we have to get better today.
Right.
All we can control is, so let's embrace it. Let's have, joy in the opportunity. Because on March 12th, if you remember, they came to us and said you couldn't play basketball anymore.
Right.
We came home and they said, hey, you can't use the facility anymore. And there was a time when all these guys wanted to be able to do was just get in the gym and shoot and play and practice, wishing we could practice. And so now today we had a chance to practice. So let's embrace that joy that we're here to practice. We get to and compete and be the very best that we can be today. And we'll take care of tomorrow. And I thought the guys did that, man. They jumped in and they were awesome today.
When you watch them, when you go through these practices, where's the most glaring area where you think you need to improve right now? Is it defensively? Is it?
Yeah, defensively. Jeez Louise.
Really?
I'm for real. And you know, I'm not quite as like I don't quite as spin things quite as well as Scott does. Okay, so you got like, I mean, I'm sitting on the bench. We were scrimmaging each other, right? I was sitting on the bench and I'm looking, and if I close my eyes, it sounds right. I mean, the tennis shoes are squeaking. I can hear the guys talking. You know, the bodies are hitting. It sounds right, but the ball keeps going in the hole, and I'm like, we can't possibly be this good offensively, right? You know, and so you go and you look at the film, but our offense is designed to attack our kind of defense, you know, and so our guards know what to expect, and so yeah, it's frustrating as like our goal. Al and I, we coach the defense, and John and Scott, they coach the offense, right? Yeah. Mostly, and so our goal. So I just told him, I think it was last week. I said, "Hey, man, we haven't had John and Coach yell at the offense one time in like 8 weeks. Let's figure out how we can get them to stop practice and yell at the offense just one time." And so we were able to get that a couple times the last couple weeks. So that made me feel good. But yeah, we gotta get better defensively, and we gotta rebound better. We're just not rebounding well enough, and we're not hitting. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Last year, actually 2 years ago, when we lost Tristen, we had to figure out how we're going to rebound because we were little. And we decided, man, we're just going to hit everybody. You know, every person, every time a shot went up, we wasn't going to look at the ball. We was going to go find somebody to hit. And we ended up being like top 3 in the league in defensive rebounding. And we've always been a good offensive rebounding team. But we're not good enough defensively. And we weren't good enough defensive rebounding last year either. So we've got to get better there.
Right. Well, at least, you know, individually, you got guys that have proven themselves on that stage, that big stage defensively with Mark and Davion. You said Adam's great defensively, but a big guy you lost when it comes to rebounding is Freddie Gillespie, and such a huge part of your program for the last 2 or 3 years. What was it like to talk to him after draft night? You didn't get picked, but he's getting some opportunities. What have you heard from him? What's he saying right now?
Yeah, well, you know, he immediately signed with the Mavs.
Yeah,
and then wanted to come down and work out with at Baylor because he was in Minnesota and all the gyms were closed down there. So he wanted to come to Baylor, but because of COVID things, we couldn't have him come down. And then I think there's something going on. You know, I don't know exactly what's happening now with Dallas and Miami. Yeah. You know, I know there's some change that took place, but immediately afterwards it was, I'm going to Dallas. Can I come down and work out? Gyms are closed. So Freddie's one of those guys, man, that he grows on you. Yeah. Right. Like you see him the first time and you're not going to be super impressed. And, you know, then 2 weeks later, you're just not going to be able to have enough of him. And because he's just going to outwork everybody.
Well, I hope he grows on the Mavericks or the Heat or whoever it is fast.
Yeah.
He's just a guy you want to have around. You know, he's going to practice hard, right? He's going to have a good attitude. And yeah, I hope he's in the league. So, Ashley, I feel like Ashley's turn to ask a question.
Well, we just wanted to ask you about your personal development. We've noticed like the Be Ready podcast that you're doing and being a part of. I mean, so tell us about what you're doing to for like as far as that's concerned. Maybe give us a little glimpse into what you're working on.
Well, when we shut everything down and we were going to be working from home, Alvin, Coach Brooks, he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this podcast, this Zoom meeting with some young coaches. Would you mind coming on and just talking?" And I was like, sure. I mean, I didn't realize anybody wanted to hear anything I had to say. And so we got on and it was just a really cool collection of young coaches. And I remember a few years ago, I had asked Alvin, I said, "Hey, who's the next Alvin Brooks? Who's the next Uric Malachi? Who's the next young guy out there that is going to be the next, and we couldn't come up with some names.
Right.
But this Be Ready platform that Alvin has created has allowed me and several others to meet some really sharp young minds, guys with really good hearts that want to be better coaches, that want to do it for the right reason and do it the right way. And so that's been fun. We used to meet every Wednesday and Saturday. And then, as we started going back into the office, it became, every Wednesday. And then we had our last episode a few weeks ago, and looking forward to season 2. But it's just a professional development, of how to be a better coach, how to interview better, how to, we had a mental health coach come on. We've had some ADs, some search firms, just different people just teaching about the business.
Yeah.
And some great coaches, man. Leonard Hamilton had everybody laughing and crying all at the same time. He was unbelievable. So we had some really good coaches come on and share about their journey in the business, and just people giving back, man. And I am convinced, right? Like Scott has allowed us to share more about the inner workings of our program during this pandemic than we've ever done before, and I'm convinced that the fact that we've taken the time to give back and give to other people, God says, given it shall be given unto you. And I think our recruiting class this year is a direct reflection of God honoring us for pouring into other people. And because nobody can explain how you end up with those 3 guys the way you did without a visit, in the midst of a pandemic. And I firmly believe that's God honoring Coach for being willing to share and give back about what he's done in our program.
Jerome, on a personal level, and this is kind of going way back now, but just think about back to when you joined this staff and, what your expectations were, where you were in life kind of as a coach, and just how you've really grown and developed yourself, here in your time in Waco.
Yeah. Well, I think Coach and I connect because we're both big thinkers. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when I first got to Heritage Christian, mm-hmm. small 1A TAPS private school in Cleveland, Texas. I remember looking around the gym going, man, we can make this into top 25 high school program in the country. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought we were crazy, and 10 years later, now last 3 years, we're top 25 in the country, but nobody could see it at that time. Coach just press conference when he came to Baylor was, we're going to win a national championship. That's what I want to do. And I remember Daniel Gibson's dad. I was working with the Houston Hoops at the time. Yeah. And I remember asking him, hey, what did you think of the coach from Baylor? And he goes, I was a little turned off that he started talking about national championships right away when they had just gone through what they went through. And to me, it was like, he didn't have nothing to do with that, that's the big, but Coach was thinking big at the time. And at the time, people were probably, oh, he's crazy, can you just think about this, right? 3 of the last 5 seasons, we've been ranked number 1 in the country. Mm-hmm. How crazy is that, right? That's amazing. Now, and it's still not what we want. We want to win Big 12 championship. We want to win a national championship, but the fact that, his big thinking has allowed this program to come this far, and just his willing. He took a chance on me. I'm a guy who I didn't have my degree, and we didn't know each other from Adam, right. and he took a chance on me, and it was a God thing. And it's just, Baylor allows me to be me. I can preach the word. I can love on our guys. I can raise my family, and I want to be a head coach. There's no doubt about it. But God, for some reason, has not allowed the right door to open yet to say, this is where I want you to go. And so it's been real easy to say, no, this is where I want to stay.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really cool is, now I feel like the last 5-6 years, people have really started to recognize you for your coaching and what you're doing to develop players. So many times young coaches get signed and they're like, oh, he's just going to be a recruiter. I'm sure you probably heard that early in your career. Does stuff like that drive you? And just and along with that, I mean, how much do you feel like you have developed as a coach when it comes
I've always thought I was a good basketball coach. Right? Now, but when you're running your own program in high school, you really think you know more basketball than you know. Right. And then we come here and, we're building from scratch. So it didn't matter how much basketball you knew. You wasn't beating Kansas and Duke and Kentucky until you got like close to equal players. I mean, you had to get players. So I understood my role at the time. And the time was that we had to go out and get players. And so if I was trying to implement all my great basketball wisdom into Baylor and not focus on the role that they needed me to do at the time, the program wouldn't be where it is right now. And coach was real clear about that. I mean, he was in his kind way, he was able to direct us, and this is what we need. And he never stopped us from coaching. I mean, I got to coach in every practice. I got to input game plan, all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't the where I would be the most valuable. Yeah. Okay. And then when Coach Driscoll left, well, everyone said, well, Matt is gone. He was the basketball mind. Like, people didn't think Scott could coach. Yeah. Which was the craziest thing in the world. Like, really? And so they're like, oh, they're not gonna. Coach Driscoll left, the basketball mind left. Well, I took that as a challenge because I wanted to show that, I mean, I could help keep everything organized. I can coach defense. I can, and coach allowed me to have a bigger role. And that's the thing about Scott, is that, like, he doesn't care who gets the credit at all. And I mean, but now all of a sudden he's gone from being a great recruiter who can't coach to being a guy who is a great coach and can't recruit, to now he's going to be John Wooden. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, think about this. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. That's just we're going to go to the Final Four. We're going to win a national championship. He's going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that's just, it is what it is. I mean, and he's done it at his pace and allowed all of us to grow and enjoying the success. So, I think I'm just one of those guys. I like being part of the team. Yeah. Every guy that we have worked with, Matt, Grant, Paul Mills, I mean, we're like a family. Those dudes are like my brothers, man. And so the environment that coach has is that he doesn't pit us against each other. And there are some programs out there that pit their assistants against each other. Who can bring in the best player? Who can do this? Who could, and everybody's trying to show I did this, I did that. And that's not the makeup of our staff. It's us, man. It's all John, as great as Grant, Matt, and Mills are, right? As great as they are. Coach Driscoll's won Coach of the Year 3 times in his league. Mac just won Coach of the Year. Mills has Oral Roberts in a place they hadn't been in like 20 years. Okay? And John Jacobs and Alvin Brooks are the 2 best assistants I've ever worked with. Wow. They are unbelievable. I walked in Coach's office the other day after they did film with the team, and I went, man, these dudes are special. You should see some of the stuff that the creative things and how they explain and teach things. And I mean, those guys are just unbelievable. They make my life so easy. So,
yeah. Well, you mentioned the recruiting class, and Jason and I interviewed Kendall and Langston and Jeremy. We had a podcast with them the day they signed. And, I was just really impressed by all 3 of them, their maturity. They seem like they're all in on, Baylor and trusting the process and reasonable expectations. I mean, just as you recruited these guys, just maybe talk about how they fit our culture and what your expectations, maybe not next year, but going forward for those 3 guys would be.
Well, the first thing is their families. I mean, dads in their lives who are just unbelievable men who, they love their sons, and they want to see them be great men first, and moms who are super supportive, and you can just sense the love and the nurture that they have, and there's a balance there in the home. That, like, when you see that balance, man, and it's just so important that young men have dads in their lives,
right.
you know, and that has been that was when you saw that makeup, and that's who we dealt with parents. And when you're dealing with parents about kids, parents understand the value, the eternal value, and the lifetime value of Baylor University.
Right.
Okay. And so then it was just about, do they fit with us basketball wise? Right. And how were we going to help them? Well, we have, just coach has 18 years of history to show how he's helped develop guys like them, maybe not as talented as them coming in and where they've gotten to. And so if you'll come in and have that kind of approach, the sky's the limit for you. And all those guys bought into that, and their families, were behind it. So,
yeah. When you look at you've had so many success stories, guys you've recruited and grown close to, and they've gone on to great things. Is there a story or two that you take particular pride in, or a player or two that you take particular pride in, looking at where they were and where they ended up?
Man, one of the Ishmael Wainwright, I remember that when he was in Kansas City, a teacher in Kansas City told him that he would never go to college.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't smart enough to ever go to college. And I just remember him telling me that story, and the joy when Ish got his degree.
Yeah.
Not just got into Baylor, but watching him get his degree, and
flourished. Yeah.
Just Torian Prince, we used to go to breakfast. So I take the guys to breakfast, and we would talk about family traditions, right? And one of our family traditions for Christmas is my wife gets us all matching pajamas, and we take a picture. And I remember telling him about that. And then I remember 3 Christmases ago, he sent me a picture of his family in matching pajamas on Christmas Day.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, so just, those types of things, man, just so proud of all of them, and I'm so proud of how much they love coming back to Baylor. Tweety Carter. I used to call Tweety. Paul Mills and I would be at half court. And I specifically remember we were at Texas Tech, standing at half court. There was still about 60 minutes before the tip, so the teams are warming up and stuff. And we're on the phone with Tweety Carter saying, "Hey, Tweety, one day when you're at Baylor, we're going to roll into Texas Tech. We're going to be ranked #1 in the country. This place is going to be packed, and they're going to be coming here to see you." And Tweety remembers that, and so, when a few years ago, when we rolled into West Virginia, the outcome wasn't very good, but the initial walking in the gym and the place was packed for the warm-ups, and we were #1 in the country, and thinking that, man, I remember calling Tweety on the phone, and then now this thing actually happening. So those are all some
awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jerome, for doing this. It's been awesome, and appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do it. And good luck. Hopefully, we can get these games in. And I know Illinois and Gonzaga are going to be 2, much anticipated matchups as well. So hopefully, now you guys tested today. Did everybody come back clear? Can you share?
Yes, we tested. We actually tested the day before. We were supposed to leave. And then when we were told that we couldn't go, we went from the airport back and tested again, the PCR test. And then this morning we tested again, and everyone came back negative, and we'll test again tomorrow morning. And I'm convinced everyone will come back negative. And so I know there were people who were concerned about this and as to why they didn't want to play.
Right.
But I want to assure our fans that we did everything in our power to give us opportunity to play. And for some reason it didn't work out, but our goal wasn't to beat Arizona State or Villanova, at the start of the season, is to make sure we win that very last game.
Yeah.
And so just please social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, don't get weary in well doing. Due season we'll reap if we faint not. And let's make wise choices, and hopefully we can all be in Indianapolis together. Maybe it's cleared up and we can all be there together and watch confetti fall from the ceiling.
Right. Well, hopefully, Jerome, you get at least a chance to sneak a good Thanksgiving meal in somewhere. You a pecan pie guy or
No. A sweet potato pie. We already did Thanksgiving as a family already,
okay.
and so my wife made the sweet potato pie filling, but I make the crust, and I do my own pie crust, and it was also during COVID. You asked me, like, my professional development was be ready, but my personal development was in that kitchen, man.
You became a good cook. What was it that you really perfected?
Well, my pie crust got really good, and I can make a good apple pie, any kind of pie. I'm pretty good at, and lasagna. I can grill a good steak. I've like all the we did all kind of stuff. She would like look at me like, "Oh, you've been in there all day, aren't you tired?" But it was like joy, Yeah. So my kids learned, like my son had a day and my daughter had a day and my wife had one day, and then I had like the rest. So it was on, and a lot of fun.
Good. Well, I think Ashley and I are going to go start looking at Vegas flights. So we'll let you go. But Jerome, thanks again, and everyone, thanks for watching the Sic Em 365 podcast. It's part of the Field of 68 network, run by my guys Jeff Goodman and Rob Doster. Help us out and look us up on iTunes and subscribe. And Jerome, we'll see you hopefully at the Farrell Center real soon. And good luck in Vegas.
All right, y'all. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.